Hello, and welcome to CT Debate's third episode in the speech module. Today, we'll be talking about dramatic interpretation, hosted by the National Speech and Debate Association. Dramatic interpretation is about using our voice, our body, and emotions to bring powerful stories to life. DI isn't just meant for performance, it's meant for advocacy, to advocate for a specific community. Dramatic interpretation is an event where you perform a 10-minute script with a 30-second grace period. You would rather be 9:30 than 10:30, and you cut it from a book, a movie, or a script. Generally speaking, you should use books, more specifically memoirs. But if you do find a good movie, that's definitely something to go for, or a play for that matter, but for the most part, dramatic interpretation is off of memoirs. So there are some terms in DI. They're relatively simple compared to the other Interp events. There's just blocking, which is, like, as we say for all Interp events, the actions you do to simulate a surrounding to convince your audience you're a specific person in a specific place doing a specific thing. And then there are melts. Melts are transitions for transitioning into different characters. This is more prevalent in DI for sure, although it's there in like all Interp events, I guess. But the melt it's your transition essentially. You bridge together scenes using your melt. And this melt has to be extremely clean, like a little slow. You'd rather do it soundless for sure, I guess. Like instead of going with the little breathing noise, I guess. Definitely don't pop in DI, by the way. And then for scripts are mostly the same kind of format for all Interp events, but again, to the left, there's the teaser, the intro, the exposition, the inciting incident, the rising action, the climax, and the falling action. So this is pretty self-explanatory for the most part, I'd say. And then to the right, there is the selection. So these are a few resources you can do to kind of select your pieces, I guess. Of course, these are only for scripts. If you're looking for more memoirs, I'd just say like kind of go online, like in a search engine like Google, I guess, and then like type like memoir for, say you're passionate about like bipolar disorder, like memoirs about bipolar disorder, or like anything kind of like that, and then you should find something at least. Of course, like if you're actually like choosing a script, I'd say there's no real shortcut. Like you can get some knowledge by looking at the summary, but you really do have to kind of read and spend a lot of time reading. That's kind of how I learned a little bit about dramatic interpretation. And then for blocking. So blocking in DI is a little more straightforward than for HI, for POI, for Duo, definitely more than Duo. It's probably the Interp event with the least amount of blocking, I think it's fair to say. So I think I'll cover foreground and background in a few, but I'm just going to go with the voices, the sound effects, and the transitions first. So with your in dramatic interpretation, you have one character for the most part. Very few times you have multiple characters. You want your character to be unique. So this means like if you're making them old, you're just kind of not like looking down angrily with like a stick or something like in your hand. You have to like make your face wrinkle. You have to like perfect every single motion and every single action, every single facial feature while doing this character. And you can't just do this for one character. You have to do this for all characters. And of course, like while it might be easier to just like play yourself with like your same voice, your normal voice, it's not like unique to judges, and honestly it's just so much more clean and so much more interesting to judges to kind of watch like a literal kid like turn into like an old man in like a relative second. It's like genuinely one of the most important things, getting your characters down. Also, if you do have like characters with like specific like disabilities, I guess, like less abilities, I guess, like be very cautious with kind of what you go for. I know like there's been a few people who cover like dramatic interpretations with like, for example, like in 2014, I believe there was a person, the runner-up for the NSDA and DI. He portrayed someone with like a little bit of like a disability, I guess, and you just had to make sure it's not really offensive. So just tread lightly. I'd say double check with your coaches, double check with your friends for sure about deciding whether to do a specific kind of like enactment of a character, and then like of course like if you're um, with your character also you have to keep like going with them and progressing. So sometimes at the beginning you have to make them like a little like old, right? Like you kind of saying like, oh, this happened for my entire life, and then you kind of transition into them when they were younger again, like kind of doing what they did, and then like when they get old again, you can kind of see like how age really affected them. Like for example, if they were like in a war, you could see like maybe they're like hobbling on like a leg a little bit because they got like injured. Maybe a little bit of their eyes like twinking, like their eyes like a little down. So these are just a few things you can do for your character. So also with the characters like voices, like I said before, like kind of that's also kind of important too. You have to have like the different voices for your characters. Of course, you don't need to, but it just makes your piece like that little more unique. And that's something that's a lot easier to work with for HI. I'd say like you can like literally listen to anyone. Like there's a very low chance like you're doing a DI and like the voice you're doing, someone hasn't done something like it before. Say like in a movie, just like an impression, right? So definitely you can look online for that kind of stuff. Sound effects. So generally speaking, in DI, sound effects aren't like necessarily very prevalent, I guess, but sometimes they are. It very much like if you have if you have a sound effect, it's generally for your transition, and that too, that's like kind of rare, I guess. Um, Unless if you're kind of doing like a thing like when like oh, I was in the forest and then all of a sudden I heard like a whistle, and then you kind of like whistle a little bit. Like it's a very iffy kind of thing whether to use those kind of sound effects. But definitely if your like piece includes it, and like oh for sure actually one main sound effect that you could use is the heartbeat. It's a little overdone now, I guess, but I've seen it done like very well a few times. Stomping the foot when something is shot, stomping the foot when like I don't know, like a bomb drops, there's like war or something like that. That's definitely a very common thing that happens. And then transitions, like pretty much like transitions are kind of straightforward, like mentioned before. But like if you do have like something specific to your piece, that could work. But like for the most part, your transition should be melts, as mentioned before in the definitions. And then foreground and background. So foreground is kind of like it's your audience essentially. Like when you're in the room, you should probably be at the center of like most of the time it's like a classroom, right? There should be like a few desks in front of you, maybe around you. That is your foreground. The people sitting in the desks themselves, that's the foreground. This is who you're kind of like interacting with through your narration. But then once you transition into like the inciting incident and like the climax and everything like that, I guess up to the resolution, you start looking at the background. So the foreground is like at the beginning when you're doing the narration, you're kind of introducing your character, like you're introducing yourself as like the character. You're like, oh, I am like this guy, and you're kind of like looking at people, right? And like you're also kind of interacting with your surrounding while doing this. It's very much like an interactive part of this is the most like interactive part of your piece other than the ending, I guess. And then once you transition into your intro, you maybe spend like a good 30 seconds kind of talking to your audience a little bit, and then you transition into what you were doing before, like when you're doing the inciting incident, the climax. At that point in time, it's like you're not looking at your audience anymore. I mean, you can, but for the most part you're not. You're kind of looking at the like a little bit above them, I guess, and then kind of just like going around and doing your blocking, I guess, from there on. This is definitely the most important piece of feedback I've kind of gotten with the foreground and the background. It's very important to distinguish these two. And then, of course, like towards the end, like the denome resolution, falling action, you go back to the narration. So for practice for dramatic interpretation, it's definitely going to be a little depressing, just kind of running the same kind of piece over and over again, and it's like going to be very stressful mentally. I know plenty of people who have done dramatic interpretation and gotten stressed out by the event because it's just kind of depressing to do like something that has like so much, like a piece that has like so much hatred, so much anger, so much sadness, and so much trauma that's going on. So if you ever feel like that, definitely like talk to your coaches, talk to your friends, like about kind of doing it. Maybe if it's like at an extreme level, just don't do the piece. But otherwise, like for your practice, I guess if you're still interested in doing DI, definitely like one thing to do is kind of stay motivated. Just remember, like you're not just doing this piece for like your performance, like you're doing it for everyone who you're advocating for, everyone who you're making them aware to the judges and like everyone else, so you continue to advocate for them through you doing your piece. And then the piece by piece kind of thing is just like sanction your time properly, kind of just like split up split up like what like your work is through like multiple days, I guess. Have like a schedule, I guess, and don't do more than like 1 to 2 scenes per each day. Unless if you're on an extreme rush, like in your like last minute, then like go for it, I guess. Another thing is to keep things fresh. Like even if you like DI is a very emotional event. Like you have to have like a lot of like raw emotion for this kind of event. And if you're just saying the same thing multiple times for a whole year, you lose that kind of raw emotion, right? So you have to even if it's good, like, and you're just not feeling it, there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to change it and find something a little more impactful in your script. Otherwise, you have to like kind of cut it a little different, maybe do a little different blocking. That's one of the most helpful things I've heard in DI. And then again, raw emotion, you kind of have to like tap into raw emotion. Honestly, this is kind of something that you'll kind of gain after doing dramatic interpretation for a few times. For your first 3 or so tournaments, for the most part, like most people don't necessarily tap into that raw emotion. But once you start keep doing your like piece throughout tournaments, you start to gain that raw emotion. Like you learn how to do DI. So again, it's not a great idea to quit on DI if you're like just not feeling on it. Just at least run with it for at the minimum 2 tournaments, like, and then your third tournament, like if you're genuinely like so against DI, like for sure talk to your coach about dropping it or just drop it yourself. And then definitely something I'd say is get in front of people and perform your piece, because dramatic interpretation, like over humorous interpretation, HI and duo is kind of, and POI for that matter, they're all kind of overstimulating, right? You're just doing so much at like the same time, and people just like are like, they give you like a bunch of like random feedback, which isn't necessarily random, but like it's just the obvious things, right? DI is an event where there's not a lot of those obvious things, and everything you do is very subtle, and people notice them very, very fast. So definitely, like, and no matter your skill caliber, like every person for DI always has like a little bit of feedback to be given. Like, so definitely get in front of people, get in front of your coach, get in front of your friends. Debate about getting in front of your parents to do your piece if you're like not comfortable with showing them the piece. That's fine, but definitely show someone. And show yourself, I guess. So again, like record yourself. Like I've been saying this for every Interp video so far. You should definitely record yourself, because you do notice these little small like problems. Like honestly, what my coach always says is the first person who should be watching your video, watching your piece, is yourself. And then after that, you can transition into like in front of other people, I guess. Like you should, like, because I think the bare minimum things, if you're able to like see like what you're doing wrong, then like you should fix that, I guess. And then like if like there's of course going to be some things that you don't see because you're like, no, I have this perfect part in my piece for like a specific reason. But like your friend or your coach might say, hey, like sure, you might think that, but judges, me like as a person who has never seen this piece before, who doesn't know how much time you put into this piece, I don't mess with it, right? So keep yourself like open opinions, again, not too many opinions, but like just remember that's kind of the strategy. And then learning. So I'm not as educated in DI as in HI or duo, but these are some pieces that I found very moving for sure. I think the first 4 pieces actually are like some of the ones that I've grown to like kind of love a lot, especially Not a Genuine Black Man. It has such a such a good meaning. It's like at the intro there's like a balance of humor, and then there's a balance of drama. I guess it's like a little like it's just so good. Like continuing education is also great, right? They're just these are all pieces that are extremely good, right? Um, some more that I didn't write here that I can like I guess I can recommend is The Way She Spoke, which is Adriana Rodriguez's 2024 DI. Bums by Gabriel Lina. That was in 2025 this year. Crafty, I believe, was in 2014. I'm not necessarily sure, but that's a pretty good piece that my teammates personally have recommended to me. Of course, I think later, sometime in this week, we're gonna post like a list of like videos that we'll definitely recommend for you guys to like kind of watch if you're looking forward to it. Definitely I would say like why you should watch it is definitely like you see like what these people do and you see how talented these actors are, right? Like, and they're on like this big stage, and of course they're on this big stage, and of course they like you might just think, oh, they're on the big stage, that's why they look so good. That's not true. They've gone through 12 rounds. These guys are insane. They have so much emotion on them. They have so many stories to tell with them. And then like you can like always notice these little things. Like I guess you can, I mean, I say don't copy these pieces for sure, but you can like kind of steal a little transition here and there, because transitions in DI are really not that like unique, to say the least, I guess. But that's kind of it for the most part. So then also remember that like summer is a very important time for you, not just like through your school, but like also for speech and debate. It's a great time to work on your pieces. Like at the very minimum, you should have like an idea. You don't even need like a cutting, like, or like even like a teaser to be cut yet. You just have to have an idea of like the piece you want, what kind of piece the piece you want, or like what kind of topic on the piece you want. Like if there's something very meaningful to you, like an issue that's very meaningful to you, like something you want to spread and you care about with like aware, and like you want to give it to the judges so that they're like more aware of it, right? Definitely go for that, I'd say. And then of course remember, like, DI might be daunting like the first time you do it. For me personally, it wasn't. Honestly, DI is like a really chill event. It's a lot less stressful than HI or POI. Duo is like alright, I guess, because you have a partner to always rely on sometimes. But DI is one of the less stressful events. It's just like once you start progressing and like you tap into that raw emotion and whatnot, like it gets a little harder, like a little tougher mentally, like I guess for you. But definitely just keep talking to people, keep running your piece, keep like talking to your coaches, keep things fresh is definitely one thing that I'll say. And then remember that like speech and debate, it's like it's a great activity to get these like kind of life moments, but also when you get these life moments, you have a lot of time and opportunity to get these medals as well. So that's it for today's video on dramatic interpretation. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the YouTube comments or DM them to @CTDebate on TikTok, on Instagram. So have a good day.